They think you will break. They think you will shout. They think you will crumble into the predictable little dance most weak men perform when their pride gets touched. But they have made a mistake. They have confused silence for surrender. You do not flinch. You do not bark. You do not bleed where they can see. You stand still, so still that the air feels heavier, as if something dangerous is about to happen. That is the first ripple of fear, and they feel it before they even understand why. This is not kindness. This is not restraint. This is control. Control they did not know you had. Control they cannot break. Control that turns their disrespect back on them until even their own shadow feels like a threat. A man who reacts is readable, predictable, and weak. A man who waits, who studies, who lets the insult hang in the air like a dying insect, is a man who is dangerous. Cold men win because cold men are patient. Patience is the blade hidden under your coat, sharp, silent, and inevitable. Every breath you take after the moment of insult is you reloading. You are not reloading a gun. You are reloading a strategy. When someone disrespects you, they hand you a weapon. They just do not know you are going to use it. This is the point where you stop being prey. This is the point where you stop being nice in the way sheep are nice. From here on, you are winter in human form, quiet, vast, and merciless. They will learn that nothing freezes faster than arrogance. Welcome to Dark Tactics. Comment this so you do not forget. My silence is their sentence. Now, we begin. When someone disrespects you, your first instinct will be to act, to fire back, to defend yourself. That instinct is weakness disguised as pride. Machiavelli warned that power is rarely lost in one blow. It is leaked through careless reactions. Every time you rush to prove yourself, you are spending currency you didn't need to spend. Your silence is not retreat. It is the first move in a longer game. Think of yourself as a chess player facing a loud opponent who thinks the game is about noise. They slam their pieces. They talk big. They hope you'll match their volume. You don't. You let them think they're winning while you position for the kill. That is cold strategy. The weak think revenge is about reaction. The strong know revenge is about repositioning. If you react emotionally, they own the frame. If you control the frame, you decide the terms of the fight and whether the fight happens at all. This is why you wait. This is why you record. This is why you study. Machiavelli wrote that men must either be flattered or crushed. Nothing in between. Your patience allows you to see which they deserve. Flatter those who can be useful, crush those who are a danger. Never confuse the two. This requires discipline because discipline is the currency of dominance. Here's the leverage. While they are busy underestimating you, you are gathering resources, allies, and proof. They think they've bruised you. What they've done is place themselves under your observation. That's when they start making mistakes, big, obvious, fatal mistakes, because they think you're not watching. This is where your power multiplies. You are no longer a participant in their petty drama. You are the architect of the board they are trapped on. And when you move, it's not to win an argument, it's to end their ability to challenge you again. So remember this: the man who can wait controls the terms. The man who controls the terms wins without having to swing. Comment this now to etch it into your mind. I decide the battlefield. The greatest revenge is to make them dig their own grave while thanking you for the shovel. Machiavelli understood this truth. Enemies destroy themselves faster when you remove open resistance. When you fight them head-on, you unify them. When you vanish into silence, you divide them. Their arrogance grows unchecked, and arrogance is the most predictable path to collapse. Here's the move. After disrespect, you stop feeding their relevance. No public call-outs, no emotional confessions, no back-channel gossip. You treat them like an empty chair in a locked room. This is psychological starvation, and it is lethal. People cannot stand to be ignored by someone they wanted to provoke. The silence becomes a mirror. They start seeing themselves more clearly, and they don't like what they see. While they are wrestling their own ego, you're working in shadows. You're improving your skills, your network, your leverage. You're becoming the person they can't touch, not because you're loud, but because you're above them. They can swing at you, but their arms won't reach that high. Machiavelli advised rulers to appear merciful, faithful, and humane, but to be ready to act with the opposite when survival demands it. You do the same. Outwardly, you remain calm, focused, productive. Inwardly, you keep a ledger. Every slight, every lie, every attempt to undermine you, it all gets recorded, because at the right time, that ledger becomes your weapon. The beauty of this tactic is that you don't need to strike first. You let them keep talking, keep overreaching, keep exposing themselves. They think they are winning ground. In reality, they are building the case against themselves, and when the moment comes, you don't need to argue. You simply present the facts. Facts are cold. Facts are final. Facts end debates. By then, the battlefield is already yours. You didn't rush to it. You built it under their feet. That's how you make an enemy collapse without touching them. They trip on the rope they tied themselves. So, lock this in. You don't destroy them. You let them destroy themselves. Comment it exactly. Their hands, my victory. Patience is the prelude. Precision is the kill. Up until now, you've been quiet, calculating, letting them pile mistakes like dry wood. But Machiavelli was clear. The wise prince does not strike when he is angry. He strikes when the blow will end the matter entirely. This is where you move from defense to offense. And here's the key. Your offense must look like necessity. If your strike appears emotional, they'll call it petty. If it appears calculated, justified, and inevitable, they'll call it fate. That's how you rewrite the story so the world sees you not as the aggressor, but as the one who simply restored order. This is where dark tactics becomes lethal. You never attack a man's strength. You attack the seam between his pride and his weakness. Every enemy has it. That co-worker who undercut you, his seam might be a hidden failure he's desperate to bury. That rival who mocked you, his seam might be the approval of others he can't live without. You don't touch the armor, you find the crack. You apply pressure slowly, subtly. You make moves that look like coincidence to everyone except him. You redirect opportunities away from him, cut his lines of influence, expose small truths that make others doubt him. You don't have to tell the whole story, just enough for the crowd to question the ending. And once doubt enters a man's circle, his own allies finish the work for you. Machiavelli wrote that it is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. The reason is simple. Fear survives longer than affection. If your calculated strike teaches them, and everyone watching, that disrespecting you carries a cost, you've planted fear in the soil of their memory. That fear will grow roots. But here's the discipline most men lack. After your strike, you go silent again. No gloating, no victory laps. You let the consequences speak louder than your words. The mystery of your limits will terrify them more than the memory of your retaliation, because now they know you can hit and they'll never see it coming. Comment this to make sure it burns into your mind. I strike once and it's enough. A real predator doesn't just kill, he controls the territory after the kill. The problem with most revenge is that it ends at the strike. They get the satisfaction of the hit, but they leave the door open for retaliation. That is sloppy. Machiavelli would call it half measures, and half measures breed danger. If you teach someone they can recover from your blow, you invite them to come back stronger. You don't just end the fight, you end their ability to fight again. This is post-strike dominance, and it starts with perception control. After your retaliation, you don't talk about it. You don't confirm or deny. You let the narrative drift through whispers. You become the man they speculate about. Mystery is more powerful than confession. When they don't know your full capacity, they imagine it, and their imagination will always be more terrifying than the truth. You also reinforce your position through visible elevation, promotions, partnerships, new ventures, public wins. Each success sends a clear message. Not only did you survive, you advanced. You didn't just withstand the storm, you built a castle in it. That's the kind of dominance that freezes future challenges in their tracks. Behind the scenes, you quietly adjust the chessboard. You place allies where they can intercept potential threats before they reach you. You align yourself with people who amplify your power and create natural barriers against attack. This is how rulers operated for centuries, not by winning every battle, but by making most battles impossible. Machiavelli warned that mercy without power invites contempt. This is why you occasionally remind the environment of what you're capable of, not with reckless shows of force, but with small, precise demonstrations, subtle enough to avoid paranoia, strong enough to maintain respect. Think of it as keeping your blade visible without swinging it. From here, your enemies operate in constant hesitation. They will second-guess every move, weigh every word, and in that hesitation, you control them. Control isn't about the moment they bow. It's about making sure they never stand tall in your presence again. So remember, striking ends the fight. Owning the aftermath ends the threat. Comment this so you never forget. I own the ground they walk on. A king without loyal lieutenants is just a man wearing a crown no one respects. Machiavelli was blunt. Rulers are never destroyed by distant enemies. They are destroyed by those closest to them. That's why your next step isn't just controlling your enemies. It's engineering loyalty so deep that betrayal becomes suicidal. First, you must understand this. Loyalty isn't bought, it's cultivated. Money can be outbid, fear can be overcome, but mutual benefit, that is the cement that holds an empire together. You identify the people whose ambitions align with yours, people who win when you win, people whose survival is tied to your success. These are not friends, they are investments. You give them value no one else can, access, protection, knowledge, and in return, they become extensions of your will. Machiavelli advised princes to empower ministers so they depend on him entirely. You do the same. You make yourself the center of their upward momentum. Cut you out, and they fall. Stay with you, and they rise. But here's the cold truth. You must also test them. Small, controlled tests of loyalty. Give them opportunities to betray you where the stakes are low. Watch. Listen. Those who pass, you elevate. Those who fail, you remove quietly. Before they think about testing you in ways that matter, in the eyes of outsiders, your circle will seem tight, impenetrable. That perception alone is power. An enemy thinking about moving against you now has to wonder not just about you, but about the silent, loyal operators around you. Operators who might defend you without you lifting a finger. That's deterrence on a psychological level, and here's where it gets dangerous for them. Loyalty breeds reach. Your allies carry your influence into rooms you'll never enter, into conversations you'll never hear. They shape narratives, protect your name, and intercept threats before they touch you. This is how empires maintain control without constant fighting. The empire defends itself. Machiavelli warned that divided counsel leads to weak leadership. That's why you keep your circle small. Too many voices means too many openings. A handful of trusted operators is worth more than an army of lukewarm supporters. Once this structure is in place, you're no longer just a man defending himself. You're a node of power with a living shield. Enemies can't just get to you. They have to dismantle the entire network, and by the time they try, it's already too late. Comment this to mark your transition. My circle is my armor. Power doesn't always announce itself. The most dangerous man in the room rarely needs to speak. Machiavelli understood this. He wrote that a ruler's greatest weapon is not his sword, but the belief that the sword is always within reach. Fear is more efficient than force, because fear works 24 hours a day without you lifting a finger. The mistake amateurs make is thinking fear comes from aggression. It doesn't. It comes from unpredictability and controlled presence. If your enemies can read you, they can prepare for you. If they can't, they start inventing stories about what you might do, and those imagined stories will always be more terrifying than reality. Your first step is to control appearance. You must look composed, always. No visible stress, no rushed words, no frantic moves. If someone disrespects you and you respond with the exact same calm as before, they'll start wondering what you're planning. That wondering is the first seed of fear. Next, you use strategic absence. Disappear from certain places unexpectedly. Decline invitations without explanation. Withdraw access from people without warning. When you remove yourself, you force them to question their standing with you. The unknown becomes a weapon. They start filling in the blanks, and those blanks become threats in their minds. Then you deliver precision signals. A brief stare held a second longer than normal. A name mentioned casually that they didn't know you knew. A perfectly timed compliment that reminds them you're aware of their strengths and their weaknesses. You're not threatening them. You're reminding them that you see them completely. Machiavelli advised that a prince should be both a fox and a lion. The fox to detect traps, the lion to frighten wolves. Silent intimidation is the fox's art. You're never in open conflict, but no one doubts you could end it instantly if you wanted to. Over time, this creates an aura. You'll notice it when people lower their voices when you walk in, when they check your expression before they speak, when even your enemies avoid saying your name too loudly. That's not respect. That's survival instinct kicking in. And here's the most lethal part. Once the aura is built, you no longer have to do anything. It sustains itself. People will spread the stories for you. They'll warn others not to cross you. They'll exaggerate what you've done and what you could do. The legend becomes self-reinforcing. From that point forward, you've reached psychological dominance. No fights, no shouting, just presence. Comment this to anchor it in your mind. My silence speaks louder than threats. Your reputation is your shadow. It moves ahead of you, enters the room before you do, and speaks when you're not there. Most people let their reputation drift, hoping it stays positive. That's a fool's gamble. Machiavelli understood that perception is more powerful than reality. If people believe you are capable, disciplined, and dangerous to cross, they will behave as if it's true, whether or not they've ever seen you act. This is the art of weaponizing your name. Step 1. Curate the narrative. Every move you make should reinforce a single identity: calm, calculated, and unshakable. Stop broadcasting your struggles. Stop explaining your decisions. Let people see only the results, never the process. When they don't know how you did it, they assume you can do it again, in anything. Step 2. Make your wins visible and your retaliation invisible. Let your successes be public and undeniable, but let your enemies' downfalls look like bad luck. When they can't connect the dots, they start suspecting you control the dots. That suspicion alone changes how they move around you. Step 3. Don't hide every loss. Frame it. Machiavelli taught that even a setback can be useful if it reinforces your image. When you speak of past defeats, make them sound like calculated withdrawals, lessons you chose, or necessary sacrifices that positioned you for the next win. Turn every scar into proof of endurance. People respect the man who bleeds and still walks forward. Step 4. Plant stories, not lies, strategic truths. Tell allies anecdotes that subtly amplify your capability. Let those stories spread without your name attached to them directly. The best reputation work happens when people believe they discovered the truth about you themselves. Once this is in motion, your reputation becomes a deterrent system. Disrespecting you will seem like a bad investment, not because of what you've done, but because of what you might do. Fear of the unknown is the strongest armor you can wear. Machiavelli warned that a prince who is loved but not feared will be destroyed. You don't choose between love and fear, you engineer a balance. Your allies respect you, your enemies respect your reach. In both cases, your name carries weight. And here's the final truth. Once your name has weight, you no longer chase power. Power starts chasing you. Comment this so it burns into your thinking. My name moves before I do. Sometimes the most dominant move is to disappear. Not because you've lost, but because you've already won, and you're letting them wonder what comes next. Machiavelli taught that fear grows in the absence of information. The less people know about your position, your plans, your intentions, the more they invent their own conclusions. And in power games, their imagination will always paint you as more dangerous than you truly are. That's exactly what you want. Strategic disappearance is not running away, it's withdrawing supply. You take away your presence, your energy, your availability. You let your enemies speak into silence, and in doing so, they reveal themselves. In the vacuum, they start guessing. Guessing turns to paranoia. Paranoia turns to mistakes. There are 3 rules for making this work. First, you must disappear on your own terms. Never vanish in reaction to pressure. Vanish at your peak when your influence is obvious. That way, your absence feels intentional, like you're moving pieces they can't see. Second, you leave traces of movement. Not direct communication, but subtle signals, rumors of new alliances, glimpses of projects, hints that you're operating at a higher level. Your absence becomes a riddle. They can't tell if you're planning something massive or simply watching them from the shadows. Third, you reappear with leverage. When you come back, you do so with a win, a new resource, or an elevated position. Your return must confirm the suspicion that your disappearance was a move, not an escape. Machiavelli wrote that men should be handled with either generosity or destruction, nothing in between. Strategic disappearance is the pause before deciding which they deserve. You give them just enough time to miss your presence or fear your return. Either way, they are primed for your next move. Understand this. Constant availability breeds complacency. Scarcity breeds value. When you control your visibility, you control your perceived worth. And when you control your perceived worth, you control the game without even touching the board. Comment this to lock it into your mind. My absence has weight. There's a difference between defeating someone and deleting them. Defeat is temporary. They can recover, rebuild, return. Deletion is final. They vanish from relevance, as if they never existed. That's the freeze-out. Machiavelli understood that the most secure victories are the ones no one can reverse. And in the modern world, the freeze-out is how you make that happen. It's power without open war, victory without a single direct blow. Here's how it works. You stop acknowledging them in every form. You strip their name from your vocabulary. You don't mention them, correct others about them, or even respond when they bring them up. In your world, they simply don't exist. This creates a chilling ripple, because when you treat someone as invisible, others follow. Next, you control the spaces that give them oxygen. That means influencing the rooms, networks, and opportunities they depend on. You don't sabotage them directly, you just make sure their name never comes up in the right conversations. Projects pass them by, invitations skip over them, the phone stops ringing. It's not personal, it's systemic. The beauty of the freeze-out is its stealth. They can't accuse you of attacking them. There's nothing to point to. No fight, no insult, no proof. Just absence. And absence, over time, is lethal. Relevance is like a flame. It needs constant fuel. You don't have to put it out. You just stop feeding it. Machiavelli wrote that men should be either treated generously or destroyed. This is destruction in the quietest possible form. No drama, no spectacle, no witnesses. They fade until even their allies forget they were ever important. The result? They're still alive, still talking, still trying, but no one is listening. And you've removed a threat without lifting a weapon. The most elegant power move is to make it look like nothing happened at all. This is the final stage before absolute dominance. By the time they realize they've been erased, they're already gone. Comment this so you never forget. I erase without touching. Revenge is not the end. The end is consolidation, making your position so fortified that no one will even consider stepping against you again. Machiavelli warned that after victory, a ruler must remove the root of the threat entirely or risk future conflict. The wise man doesn't just win, he cements. Consolidation means transforming your revenge from an act into an institution. Your systems, your circle, your reputation, your resources, everything must now serve one purpose, making a challenge to you seem impossible. First, you anchor your authority publicly. Every achievement, every alliance, every visible asset is displayed in a way that makes your dominance look permanent. People need to see that you're not just standing, you're expanding. This is psychological territory marking. It tells the world, I am not to be tested. Second, you strengthen your inner circle. By now, they've seen what happens when someone crosses you. Loyalty has been proven, trust has been tested. This is where you reward your allies strategically. Give them more power, more access, more stake in your continued reign. When your survival is tied to their advancement, they will defend you without hesitation. Third, you cut all old ties to the enemy completely. No interactions, no comments, no mutual spaces. In history, the most stable empires erased the names of their rivals from the record entirely. You do the same. Their memory becomes a ghost, and ghosts have no influence. Finally, you maintain the aura. Keep your composure absolute. Keep your presence scarce but powerful. Let the legend of your retaliation, your control, and your silence grow unchecked. Never confirm it, never deny it. Mystery is the most cost-effective form of power you will ever possess. Machiavelli's ultimate lesson is that power is maintained not just by the fear of punishment, but by the certainty of it. Everyone around you must believe that crossing you is not simply risky, it is fatal to their ambitions. When that belief is universal, your position is untouchable. At this point, you don't need to defend yourself anymore. The environment defends you. The network you've built, the fear you've cultivated, the respect you've earned. These form a fortress no one can breach without being destroyed in the process. You are no longer reacting to threats. You are the reason threats don't appear. That is the highest level of power. That is the Machiavellian throne. Comment this as the final seal on your transformation. I am the throne. And remember, if this spoke to you, if this shifted something in the way you think, then like the video, subscribe to Dark Tactics, and turn on notifications, because this is just the beginning.